Hey, welcome back to the channel. It's your man Wise, and today we got to talk about Sunny Hostin from The View. Sunny Hostin is clearly not having her best day on The View. You can almost feel her irritation as her co-hosts repeatedly correct her increasingly bizarre statements. And honestly, at this point, it feels like Sunny's role on the show is to be the unintentional punching bag. And judging by her expression, I believe she's starting to catch on. Case in point, Sunny boldly claims that AOC and her policies are totally reasonable. And Alyssa's priceless reaction is absolutely wild before dropping a truth bomb that completely dismantles Sunny's argument. We're going to get into the clip, but before so, like, share, subscribe to the channel, turn the notifications on so you never miss an upload, and consider supporting the channel by buying your man a coffee.
And so now, of course, some aren't sure how much the party is listening to young Democrats, because yesterday Congresswoman AOC lost her bid to lead Democrats in the House Oversight Committee to more moderate Congressman Jerry Conley. So what does the party, this is a question, what does the party have to do to reconnect with voters?
Go ahead.
Why are you asking the Republican? I think the Dems should start. I've got thoughts, but I'll let you start.
I can start. Look, young people were still the age group with the highest support for the Democratic candidate this year. So we can start there. I don't think that young people have necessarily left the Democratic Party. Yes, there have been some gains made by the Republican Party, but by and large, young people are voting democratically. The other thing that I will say is about AOC, she has been demonized by the right, and she's been demonized as this like too progressive, far left person. And I want to try to set the record straight, because if she is too progressive, then the Democrats really are going to lose the working class, because this is her platform. The key issues: healthcare for all people, affordable housing, rebuild the unions, federal job guarantee, free public college, create clean energy jobs, pay parental leave, and expand protections for the LGBTQ+ community. If that is too progressive for this country, then that's a problem for the Democrats, and that's a problem, quite frankly, for this country.
That used to be a description of a liberal. But the
The devil is definitely in the details, but yes, AOC is extremely progressive. We're going to check out a couple clips here, and then we'll get back to the view of AOC's brightest moments. Check this out right here.
Holman, your name is on this. Is this correct?
Yes, I signed that memo.
So you are the author of the family separation policy?
I am not the author of this memo.
You're not the author, but you signed the memo?
Yes, a zero tolerance memo.
So you provided the official recommendation to Secretary Nielsen on for the United States to pursue family separation?
I gave Secretary Nielsen numerous recommendations on how to secure the border and save lives.
But it says here that you gave her numerous options, but the recommendation was option 3, family separation.
What I'm saying, this is not the only paper where we've given the Secretary numerous options to secure the border and save lives.
And so the recommendation, of the many that you recommended family separation.
I recommended zero tolerance.
Which includes family separation.
The same as is with every U.S. citizen parent gets arrested when they're with a child.
Zero tolerance was interpreted as the policy that separated children from their
If I get arrested for DUI and I have a young child in the car, I'm going to be separated. When I was a police officer in New York and I arrested a father for domestic violence, I separated that father from his
Holman,
family.
with all due respect, legal asylees are not charged with any crime.
When you're into the country illegally, it's violation 8 United States Code 1325.
Seeking asylum is legal.
If you want to seek asylum and go through the port of entry, do it the legal way. The Attorney General of the United States has made that clear.
Okay.
Again, she's a far left progressive activist who the American people don't really trust. And most of us think she's a kooky creature, but let's keep going.
Nancy Mace and what Speaker Johnson are doing are endangering all women and girls. Because if you ask them, what is your plan on how to enforce this? They won't come up with an answer. And what it inevitably results in are women and girls who are primed for assault because people are going to want to check their private parts in suspecting who is trans and who is cis and who's doing what. And so the idea that Nancy Mace wants little girls and women to drop trow in front of who? An investigator? Who would that be? In order, because she wants to suspect and point fingers at who she thinks is trans, is disgusting. It is disgusting. And frankly, all it does is allow these Republicans to go around and bully any woman who isn't wearing a skirt because they think she might not look woman enough.
In the comment section, when you see a man dressed as a woman, it's hard to mistake it, right? You know what you just saw. Come on now, she's gaslighting right here. But again, the American people spoke. They're not for this far left, woke, progressive agenda. Let's check this clip out.
One reason that people who are politically conservative are skeptical of efforts to combat climate change is that it sounds to them like it requires massive government intervention, which they just don't like. Are you prepared to put on the table that, yes, actually, they're right. What this requires is massive government intervention?
It does. It does. Yeah, I have no problem saying that. Why? Because we have tried their approach for 40 years. For 40 years, we tried to let the private sector take care of it. They said, we got this. We can do this. The forces of the market are going to force us to innovate, except for the fact that there's a little thing in economics called externalities. And what that means is that a corporation can dump pollution in the river and they don't have to pay for it, and taxpayers have to pay for cleaning up our air, cleaning up our water, and saving the planet. And so we've already been paying the costs, except we have not been getting any of the benefit. And so what we're here to say is that government is not just for cleaning up other people's mess, but it's also for building solutions in places where the private.
So she wants the government to have more control as she tries to force this Green New Deal agenda down our throats that, frankly, it's not going to stop or solve anything from a pollution standpoint. If we can't get China and India on board with cleaning up, what are we doing? And last but not least, here she is bragging about killing 25,000 jobs in her district.
Into the Amazon decision.
I think it's incredible. I mean, it shows that everyday Americans still have the power to organize and fight for their communities, and they can have more say in this country than the richest man in the world.
What do you say to those that criticize them pulling out, that the district now is going to lose 25,000 jobs that could have come there?
Well, one of those things is, A, we were subsidizing those jobs. So for the city was paying for those jobs. So frankly, if we were willing to give Amazon if we were willing to give away $3 billion for this deal, we could invest those $3 billion in our district ourselves if we wanted to. We could hire out more teachers. We can fix our subways. We can put a lot of people to work for that money if we wanted to.
With what revenue? Amazon was going to bring 25,000 jobs themselves. That also doesn't count all the adjacent companies that do business with Amazon that would have brought probably another 25,000 jobs. This lady here, not the sharpest knife in the drawer. But let's keep it going.
Healthcare for all should be an everybody issue.
But
okay?
the devil's in the details, because a lot of this country does not support, for example, the Green New Deal, which would absolutely crush jobs across this country, wreak havoc
It would
on the
create
economy.
millions of jobs, actually.
It would actually make international travel virtually impossible to do because of some of the regulations that have been in place. Universal health care. You should have, of course, anyone who needs emergency coverage. People should have catastrophic coverage. But most Americans think they want to have some choice and optionality in their health care. There's a reason Obamacare did not have the public option. That's not where the majority of the country is. I would argue that AOC is definitely too left for the majority of the country. But from my perspective as a Republican who didn't support Trump, this may sound weird, I think Democrats focus too much on Trump. People who were going to be with Donald Trump were going to be with Donald Trump. There needed to be more of a, this is who we are, this is what we're proactively fighting for. And I can think of 3 or 4 policies that were laid out by the vice president. She talked about this support for elderly parents. She talked about these first-time home buyer payments. But they need a
opportunity economy.
But again, that's a platitude. What does it mean?
Yeah, an opportunity economy. the heck does that mean? It was just more bluster. No substance. No substance. Anytime she was asked to explain what an opportunity economy was, you never walked away with a legitimate answer to the question. But again, Sunny Hostin doing what she does best.
Like, and I didn't know that by
in a 90-page
But
white paper.
but in this world we live in, by like when you have 3 months especially, I don't know that people knew what she was for. And then a lot of her positions in 2020, she was on the complete opposite side of now. So I think you have to decide what is it, not just what you're against.
I have to say that I like what AOC says. It's very FDR.
It is.
It's very, most people in this country want all of those things.
We don't want the government involved in any of those things, to be honest with you. If the government was to take over healthcare, it would be terrible. See Canada. You can't get anything done. Take your own 6 month to a year wait list to get anything, to get any type of procedure. We don't want that. And to be honest with you, the Affordable Care Act isn't so affordable. We really need to get an idea as to what the heck is going on with these hospitals. They're overcharging. The billing doesn't make sense. The average person can't understand what the billing is. And most of us, working folks, insurance actually went up and it punished small business. It's been an abject failure, to say the least.
The people in the Senate and the Congress, they don't seem to pay attention to what the people actually want. They do to stay in office. They do whatever they have to do. But there's a thing the Democrats do that most politicians do. I think the Republicans did it back in the day with John McCain. It's like, it's your turn. Kamala's in position. It's her turn. Joe Biden, he did not retire early enough so that there could be an open, what do they call it? Primary. Exactly. Thank you.
Don't clean it up, Joy. Retire? He didn't get the boot. He didn't get kicked out soon enough.
That's a simple word, and yet there would have been an open primary. Yeah. We would have seen what was out there a little bit more. You know, I saw this movie, The Conclave, about electing a pope.
Oh, that's a great
All of the cardinals get together and they elect the pope. They don't say, "Oh, I like Giuseppe better than Irving." They vote just like they should have done in the Democratic Party. It's not. It's just as bad as what they're doing with Trump, which is this loyalty oath that everybody has to.
Always got to bring it back to Trump. No, hold your party accountable. The Democrats usurped democracy on their side of things. They ignored 14 million votes. These people knew that Biden wasn't there cognitively. They knew it. They've known this for 3 years, yet they lied to the American people. They allowed that man to run in a primary instead of demanding a year and a half ago, that he sits down and allow some younger folks to come in there and run and allow the American people to choose. But what the DNC did is they swung a really big hammer, letting everybody know that we can do whatever we want to do. The DNC actually sued to be able to do and pull the stunt that they pulled this past summer. They sued to be able to do it. And the thing is that their constituents went along with it. A good majority of them. There was a smaller majority of them, or a smaller minority of them, that decided to defect from the party or just decided not to vote at all.
Take and bow down and kiss his ring. It's not about who's the best person. It's about who do you feel is in the next in line to do the job with the Democrats and with the Republicans. And how many times can I kiss this guy's butt?
Well, I think
Has nothing to do with that. The American people spoke. The agenda that Trump put forth in front of the American people got behind that agenda, which is putting us, this country, first over everything else. That's not to say that we don't look out for other people and other nations, but we have things to worry about in reference to us, and the American people spoke. The next clip that we're about to watch is Sunny just getting destroyed in reference to, healthcare, and she's complaining about RFK. Let's go.
Actually supports, we were talking yesterday at the table about how the two parties are not recognizable. Right now, the idea of Republicans becoming the ones that go after food lobbyists and big pharma just doesn't make sense. And when you think of wellness and health, you typically think of crunchy liberals. Like, that's the thing. I think they're on to something, because this editor said something that captures it up. It was a New York magazine. They were writing about this exact issue. And he said, only a movement so heretical and cross-pollinated and possibly dangerous could summon the political muscle to heal what truly ails America. And I agree with Alyssa on putting the vaccines on one side. The food part is really bad. The food industry needs to be completely overhauled. Right now, U.S. medical schools, and you know how long doctors go to school, they require less than 20 hours of nutritional education. Food should be the basis and foundational level of all medicine, and some cultures do that.
But it doesn't have to be RFK.
She's absolutely right. How many of you guys have gone to the doctor? Maybe you're overweight, maybe you're suffering from, diabetes or pre-diabetic or, high blood pressure, something along those lines. And they offer you a pill, but don't actually give you any nutritional guidance as to things that you can, start to ingest, things that you can do, things that you need to remove from your diet that will help you improve. I'm come to the conclusion that majority of these doctors aren't in the business of healing you. They're in the business of keeping you on the hook, coming into their office, giving you their prescriptions, and keeping you there. Almost like not necessarily fixing your car, but just doing enough to get it back on the road, but you got to come back and see them the next month. So if they actually got in the business of actually healing and telling people, hey, you need to really start looking at adding more fruits and vegetables to your diet. You need to really think about starting to add more exercise and things of that nature. And let's get into preventive care opposed to maintenance care. That right there would hurt the medical industry or the healthcare industry. It would hurt them. So I am almost for certain, hear me now, I'm almost for certain that in school, they don't really study the nutritional aspect of things because they don't have any intent on doctors pushing that agenda. They want you on the maintenance path because they make more money if they can get you in that doctor's office once a month, once a quarter. Make sure that you're taking their prescriptions and offering you new prescriptions on a month-to-month or quarterly basis. So there's a reason behind you go to school for 10 years, but there's only a very, very small amount of time that they spend learning about the nutritional value of food. There's a method to the madness for sure.
Junior, who does it?
No one's saying that part.
We're just saying why it appeals to people, what's resonating.
I understand that food is important, but I think in terms of medical school, I think we want our doctors to understand the systems of our bodies, and I think we want our doctors to understand the history of medicine and a lot more. And what's really interesting is that,
we also want our doctors to know about how to prevent disease, not just cure when a disease comes around. That's important.
K. Jr. doesn't have a medical degree. He knows not much about medicine. And what scares me, to your point, Joy, when people tell me what they're saying the first time, I believe them, like Dr. Maya Angelou told me to. And this guy, RFK Jr., has made it very clear that he is a vaccine skeptic. And what we have to remember is it's not going to be a narrow position. If you are the head of the Department of Health and Human Services, that's a very big, broad position, not a narrow position. They're not going to just put him in charge of food. They're going to put him in charge of everything. And what he just refused to answer in terms of some questions for CNN is he refused to answer about whether he stands by his previous comments tying vaccines to autism. That's all you need to know about him. He refused to answer the questions. And the other thing he said was he plans to question the entire science of vaccines. We know that vaccines work. We know that vaccines save lives. We know that our children need them.
Let me just jump in on one thing, Sunny, because
Okay, so let's talk about this autism situation for a second. And I was doing some research. In the 80s, there was 1 in 1,000 children diagnosed as autistic. In the 2000s, it was 1 in 150 children diagnosed as being autistic. In the 2010s, it's now 1 in 67 children are diagnosed with autism. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that it's directly tied to anything, but I do think that we should take the time to do some research and not just X out anything. That's the beautiful thing about science. The beautiful thing about science is you come up with a theory and then you start testing it. And as you test, you can start to cross off, different things that you've tested, say, okay, hey, it's not this, with hopes that eventually you will find some form of answer as to why autism rates have increased in this country at a extremely rapid rate. Now, some of it could be is because we just didn't test for it. It wasn't normal, and we really didn't know, what we were looking for. So that 1 in 1,000, maybe that's because the testing wasn't accurate. But when you start talking about 1 in 67 children in the 2010s are diagnosed with autism, we owe it to the American people to take some time to start doing some research. And maybe it could be the vaccines. Maybe it could be, women are having children later. It could be that, it could be the food. But whatever it may be, don't we owe it to the American people to actually take the time to research and test and try to come up with some form of answer so we can reverse these rates? I mean, if we keep going at this, heck, man, we're going to get to a point to where it's going to be, 1 in 10, 1 in 15 children are autistic. What kind of society would we have if that becomes the case?
Understand what you're saying about Western medicine, but there are Eastern traditions that are thousands of years old. I have a Chinese Western trained doctor who has pointed out where the Western medicine gets it wrong.
Right.
We live in a country where crap is put in our food that makes us sick, and then pharmaceuticals come in and throw pills at it. So we're living in a cycle where it feeds the corporate greed to keep us not well.
I'm not against Eastern medicine, but I've been married to a Western medicine doctor for 26 years, and I trust him over anybody else telling me that what's making people have certain ailments, or if I need a knee replacement, I should just put maybe some kind of like herbal patch on it.
No, but even so, with the RFK, he's gonna come up.
How does she go? She always just goes to the extreme. I mean, when you start talking about, alternatives to our modern, healthcare industry in this country, and if you listen to, some of the doctors, in other countries, when we look at the food here in America, a lot of the things that are in our foods are outlawed in other countries around the world. When you look at and learn about fasting, and, some of these other practices that other people around the world use, shouldn't we take the time to do some research? Again, it goes back to just because we've done something a certain way for a long time doesn't necessarily mean that we couldn't find a better way or that there isn't a better way. Sunny sounds like she's just trying to protect her husband's job and protect her own bag at the expense of the American people. But I'm glad that the ladies on this show are starting to check her, fact check her, and refute a lot of the nonsense that comes out of her mouth. She is hands down the least intelligent person on this show. She says some of the most ridiculous statements on a day-to-day basis. And maybe she stays on the show because she adds some form of entertainment value with her ridiculous statements. Maybe that's what it is. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Like, share, subscribe, turn the notifications on so you never miss an upload. If you want to support the channel, the best way to do so, 1 is hit the like button. 2 is to share these videos with people that need to see it. But number 3 is to buy me a coffee. Link in the description box below. Shout out to everybody that is supporting the channel in that way. I really appreciate it. Your support does not go unnoticed. Keep God first in your life. Stay prayed up. And we'll catch up with you all next time. Peace.
Vibes so